Brother Kadash, giving our praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakadash. This is the historical payout, a $2 billion payout, for black farmers, so-called black farmers, which we know are make up the 12 tribes of Israel, the blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, right? And this is recent. This has just happened. It's a major payout because they were being racially profiled against. So I still got to do a little bit more research up on it, but from what it seems like, is the farmers, all farmers could apply for loans, grants, funding through the government, So like whenever there's like a down season or a bad season for crops, they won't pretty much go bankrupt, So it sustains them. But the black farmers were being discriminated against and they were being denied for the loans. Now, they getting their money, which is a good thing, but this isn't just black farmers, This is blacks all across the board in America. This happens to blacks when there's SBA loans. We're super late to the table of even knowing what a SBA or a PPP loan is when these things been going around. There's discrimination when it comes to that. There's discrimination with regular business loans through the banks. I think not too long ago I put up a video where it was showing a black man was being discriminated on buying a home. There's discrimination when it comes to home appraisals. The average white family home is appraised higher. When they find out that it's a black family that owns the home, they appraise it lower, So it's the system. And this is what we keep saying, like the racism is in the system. So therefore the whole system has to come down. There's no other way around it, They've been doing this for years in all type of different loans, right? So of course, white people, Asian people, Moabites, Edomites, other races, they're going to be able to get ahead further. You see what I'm saying? Because let's just say you got a business. You a black man, you started a business. You took $10,000 to start a business. White man took $10,000 to start a business. 2 years later, y'all in the same category. Y'all doing about the same revenue monthly, same exact business, similar credit situation, right? You go into business, you go in the bank as a black man. Now, this is just what it's been, You get denied, you go to the bank to get an SBA loan through your bank and you get denied for $500K. Now you gotta struggle month to month to make end needs and sustain your business, right? But how can you compete when the Edomite went in and he got approved within 30 minutes to an hour for a SBA loan of $500K. So when there's competition, who's gonna win that competition? He has $500K behind him, in whatever business you're in, that he could use for payroll. He could use that 500 for expansion, for working capital. You got nothing, right? So you gotta literally build up step by step where they get this major head start, man. So that's how racism is in the system, right? It's within the system. It's hidden. They could deny you and just say credit history. They could deny you and just say, anything about your credit. But really behind the scenes, it's not what you think. It's not because of your credit. It's because of your race. Right, now let's watch this.
We end today's show with the historic $2 billion payout by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to black farmers and other farmers of color who experienced discrimination when applying to the USDA's farm loan programs. The payouts finally came 2 years after Congress funded them through the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022. USDA Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack made the announcement last week.
Now, this financial assistance is not compensation for anyone's loss or the pain endured, but it is an acknowledgement by the department. And our hope is, and the president's hope is, that this financial assistance will help many farmers stay on the farm, contribute to our nation's food supply, and continue to do what they love.
This comes after the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights confirmed, as long ago as 1965, that the USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, discriminated against black farmers. But little was done to address the problem, and the number of black-run farms dropped 96% in the last century.
You see what I'm saying? So when you take this business, and like I keep saying, it's not just this business. It's in all industries, right? You are going to, if you don't get the loan, let me start here. When I was a little boy, I thought that people started a business, worked their way up little by little, and over years and decades, they became big business, right? When I got into business, I found out that was not true. I found out a lot of the Ishmaelites that got businesses, they have funding from their country. They have funding from other rich people in their family. They get funding and help from the government to get ahead and grow their business. I found out that a lot of the Edomites are going into banks and getting approved for bank loans to get ahead. Same thing with Moabites and even Hamites, right? They got that money where they could go back to their country and get funding to spend over here, and that happens a lot. So really the big businesses, because you see a lot of big businesses fail, but what happens? The government comes in and bails them out. A lot of big dealerships fail every month, but the government comes in and bails them out with loans. So you see that it's not just because they doing good business and they work their way up. It's because they're getting help to get to the top. So if you're in the business and you're not getting help to the top, you're never going to grow. Maybe you could sustain the level that you're in, but to grow to the next level, you have to have doors open for you. Let me say that again. And I'm telling you, man, because I'm in business. I know how business works. I have my own business. Or you may be able to be successful and sustain, but in order to get to the next level, a door has to be open for you. And usually those doors are open for you by what? Money and power, or somebody in a position to open that door for you. It's like somebody that's on that level has to pull you up to that level. And then you can reach down and pull somebody else up. But that's what they don't want happening. They don't want us reaching down and pulling the rest of our people up. So that's why they discriminate. They don't want black people, so-called black people, becoming farmers, because that starts to give us more power and less dependent on the government in the cities and more independent. They don't want that to happen. They want us to fail. So 90-something of black businesses, black farmers went out of business because they were discriminated and couldn't get this loan. And you think $2 billion is enough? Trust me, it's not.
By 1999, 98% of all agricultural land was owned by white people. For more, we go to Boydton, Virginia. We're joined.
So 90-something% of the black farmers went out of business, and then 90-something% was all owned by white farmers. This is Deuteronomy 28. This is a part of the curses, and this is what we say. We fit these curses. Deuteronomy 28. Right, verse 33. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up. This is literally talking about farming. And thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away. When they didn't give them that funding, which is coming from the government, so it's supposed to be for farmers, period. Right? But that crushed away the black farmers. That was by design. Now the thing is just like with the SBA, you can't go directly to the government and say, hey, can I apply for this SBA loan? Can I get this SBA loan? The way they do it is they send the loans through vendors. So yes, it's a government loan, but you have to go through the bank to get it. Now, the government got a set of stipulations, right? But also the bank has a set of stipulations. So you may be looking at the SBA loan saying, look, I meet all the government stipulations to get this loan. But you don't meet the bank stipulations to get the loan through them. They say, we're not saying you can't get an SBA, but we're just not going to fund it out to you. The government don't have the money just sitting somewhere and you go get a loan from the government and then the government sends you the money. That's not how it works. It's through the banks. The banks are holding the money. So not only does the government have stipulations, but the banks are making stipulations too in order to get that money. And that's how they deny you. And the government is in on it because they know that's how it is. Or they could just open a portal where you could go apply directly to them. But they don't want it that way. They want you to go to the branch. They want these people to be able to sit back and discriminate against you. It's all by design. Now, back in Deuteronomy 28, Verse 34. So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thy eyes, which thou shalt see. The Lord, and you got to think a lot of black farmers had to be mad when they seen their land being taken because they couldn't pay on it and they couldn't pay the taxes and they couldn't farm or make any more money anymore. The Lord shall smite thee in thy knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot into the top of thy head. And the Lord shall bring thee and thy king which thou set over thee into a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee, which the N-word, which you're going to hear this man come on and speak about being called the N-word. Thou shalt carry much seed out of the field, and shall gather but little in. So they did a lot of farm work, but it wasn't profitable, or it wasn't enough that 90-something% of them went out of business. For the locust shall consume it, right? And then for stuff like that happens, that's why you had the government there to give you funding to get past that stuff, but they were being discriminated against. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thy olive shall cast his fruit. Thou shalt begot sons and daughters, but shall not enjoy them, and they shall go into captivity. Because a lot of times the dad gets locked up or the dad is absent, the mother is strung out on drugs or a harlot. You know what I mean? So you don't even really get to enjoy your kid. You may lose them to the system because you're in a desperate state. So you're doing anything to provide for your family. But while you're doing anything, sometimes you do illegal things that end up taking you away from your family. I've seen it with so many of my friends, man. It says, all thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. How do they do that? With the system. So they allow the white farmers to get up very high and have this power because they own 90-something% of the farmlands. Because 90-something% of the black farmers went out of business because they were discriminated against. Right? So it should be some land that should be confiscated by the government, farmland, and it should be opportunities for blacks to come out there and purchase that land at very, very low prices, if not have the land given to them, so you can restore the 90-something% of black farmers that went out of business, so you can restore that to the black community. But they're not going to do that. They'll give you money because they understand that you're going to spend the money with them and they're going to get the money right back. Right? It says, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. And that's what you see. These black farmers, they got to go beg for that money from the government because they can lend to us, but we don't have the power and we're not in a position to lend to them. And I want to say something, when you look at Islam and the Muslim movement and stuff like that, a lot of these guys are swearing down to your friends. They smile in your face. They'll call you brother. They'll try to get you to convert to being a Muslim. But the question is will they share their resources with you though? You don't never see that. I mean, yeah, they'll pay a prize fighter because they're going to make money off of them too. But you got all these guys, these rappers running over there, converting to being Muslims. But guess what? They not sharing their resources with the black community. They'll go all through old block, through the hood, converting everybody. But you still living in the hood, poor broke, running around calling yourself a Muslim. You just got out of jail calling yourself a Muslim. You ain't got 2 dimes to put together. You ain't got $200 to your name. So they converted you, but they not going to share none of their resources with you when they worth multi-billions, if not trillions over there. They not coming over here into the Muslim community, coming over here into the black community and building schools and building hospitals and creating jobs. No, they coming over here. They making car lots, hair stores, chicken shacks, convenience stores, and taking all the money out of the black community and converting all the blacks to Muslims and taking all the money and sending it back to their people and spending it and keeping the money and hoarding it to themselves. They not sharing resources. So that's how you know it's fake. But that's gonna get me to my next point, but I don't wanna jump the gun. So they lend to us, that's a curse that's put on us. But we not in a power seat to lend to them, and they're making sure that we never get in a power seat to lend to them. By keeping us in prison in the cities.
By John Boyd, a fourth-generation black farmer and founder and president of the nonprofit National Black Farmers Association, which fought for these payouts that have now gone out. John, welcome back to Democracy Now! It's great to have you with us. Explain the significance of what's happening right now.
Amy, thank you so much for having me, and it's always good to spend time with you. This is a very, very historic payout for black farmers, and I see it as a huge win for us.
And then another quick fact is that the first cowboys, not the first people doing the cowboy act, of course, because you had Hispanics and that's been doing cowboy activities forever, right? And natives, right? But the first ones called cowboy, so-called black man, Judah.
So in the National Black Farmers Association that worked on this for nearly 4 decades. So basically, 60,000 applications were turned in. 45,000 black farmers and other farmers of color have begun receiving checks this week and the latter part of last week.
So they actually getting that money now. You know, the government, they ain't gonna pay nothing out unless it's, you know, so they had to pull some strings behind the scene or came together in order to get that money from Esau, you know.
So it's very, very good news, and a total of $2 billion. So we've been waiting for this payout for a long time, and the MBFA went out and held 60 meetings, Amy, and FaceTime with our members. We sent out 130,000 postcards in the mail to all of our members, telling them how to apply for this. It took us, Amy, on average 3 to 3.5 hours to help each and every black farmer fill out this 40-page application. So it was a very extensive process. And so we were glad to get the news that from Stephen Benjamin at the White House actually called me and told me that the checks were actually going out to farmers around the country. So we see this as a huge significance of farmers who are facing foreclosure. We have a lot of black farmers in our organization that were facing foreclosure. So these payments are timely. It's going to help them stay on the farm, will help them improve their equipment, help them pay taxes. And I'm not saying it's a whole holistic fix, but it's certainly a huge thumb up for us. And Amy, we're still pushing for the $5 billion in debt relief. So I'm asking the administration to do that by executive order. That's what I've been having conversations with the White House to still get the $5 billion. That's the land that's owned by many black farmers that have their deeds of trust tied up with the United States Department of Agriculture. And again, that's a decade-old request as well.
And could you explain the difference between the payments and the debt relief?
Absolutely. The payments, like you heard Secretary Vilsack mention, it was those black farmers and farmers of color who experienced discrimination prior to 2021. So that was just about everybody in our organization that fit that definition. So that piece was totally separate than the actual debt relief, which is 120% we were promised. Black farmers who were eligible for that were sent the necessary form in the mail telling them how much debt relief they were going to get and the 20% to pay their taxes. All of our members sent them back in, and then after that, white farmers started suing us in federal court around the country in numerous federal courts and 2 temporary injunctions, one in Florida and the other in Texas, blocking the $5 billion in debt relief to black and other farmers.
So you see who your enemy is. Because here it is, instead of joining you and saying, yeah, man, this has been discriminated against you, this is why they want Trump in office. You know, yeah, it looks like you're going to get more money. You're going to make more money and gas is going to be more lower. But his race, they know that he's a racist. He speaks their language and they know. So policies behind the scenes. Like, let me give you an example. Like giving police complete immunity. Borders. Those are the things. So they waving a carrot of money and a better economy in front of your face, but behind their hand, they know they want America to be great again. And when was the last time America was great for them again? When it was racist, So instead of white farmers joining them and helping them get this $2 billion because they were discriminated against, guess what they start doing? They start suing them in court. Now, the government give you the $2 million because y'all got to pay taxes. So guess where that money is going right back into? It's going right back into the government's hand. You see, okay, and then it's going to help you farm but guess who you selling the crops to? You're selling it to different companies, and the government may have their hand in some of those companies that you're selling it to. So the money is coming right back to them, right? Because you're in America. So this is why this is not our arrest. Not saying that actually I think what they're doing is great, and even bigger than that, them unifying together to help each other all around the country, like he said, black farmers. That's why they got the $2 billion, because they were unified together. So it's actually a great thing, but this is not our kingdom. We have our kingdom to come. Let's let this play.
Farmers of color. And then we began to file motions in federal court, and after we began to make some traction there, a few wins, the administration repealed it by an act of Congress and replaced it with some of these other measures. So we still want our land, like you talked about at the beginning of the show. We, at the turn of the century, owned 20 million acres of land. Today, we're down, as black farmers, 3.5 million acres. At the turn of the century, we were tilling.
So it was 20 million, went from 20 million acres of land down to 3 million acres of land. That's by design. And then maybe this all ties into Bill Gates and the Chinese. They've been coming and just buying up all the land and holding the land. Well, why? They got so much land that they ain't even using. Well, it's competition. Maybe they're buying the land. He's tied. Whenever you get that rich and powerful, you're tied in with the government. Maybe he's buying it so it won't be no more land left over for black people to buy. That's the last thing they want us to do. All right, man, you could be a rapper. Here, we'll give you this record deal. We'll give you this necklace, this car. You may even get a little baby mansion. You know what I mean? Because all that's materialistic stuff that could be snatched. If you don't pay your taxes, like Wesley Snipes, they could come, like Omi in a Hellcat, they could come snatch it right away from you, just as they gave it to you. You still in those cities being oppressed, though. And you're teaching, you could be Young Dolph and be a multi-millionaire and get killed at a cookie shop. You see, so they don't have no problem with giving you that. Here, they'll give you this car loan so you could go in debt. They might even give you a credit card so you could go in debt and owe them. But you buying land? Now that's something that's giving the black man power. They don't want that. You having multiple wives? That's something that gives the black man and the black family power. They don't want that. See, they want to take away the power from the black man because the man is the nation. So they want to completely take away the power from the black man. If we all went out and got to buying land, they gonna come and do something about it, man. Whether it be behind the scenes, just think about it. So that shows you the fact that they attacked them so hard that now they'll get them the money, they'll get them the $2 billion, but you ain't getting that land back though. Now maybe you could go out there and start purchasing it. Maybe if it's not all being brought up by Bill Gates, but they don't want us to have power. Right? You having some money and being a millionaire in Chicago, that's economic power, but true power is land. That's what they don't want us to have, man.
There are 1 million black farm families in the United States. Today we're down to about 50,000 full-time black.
It was 1 million down to 50,000. They want us in the cities. Because look, let me break this down to y'all, man. This knowledge that I gained over the years. All praises to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. When you are in a city, you are a prey. You are in captivity. When you are in a city, you on what they call it, public and you're in the public, right? And then you have these rules where you could be driving down the street and the police could pull you over, right? Because you're on city grounds or well, public land or federal, however they call it, right? City property, right? So they could oppress you by driving around the neighborhoods all day. You know what I mean? You gotta call the police for this and that, pulling you over, planting stuff in your car, searching you. They used to have the search and stop, whatever it's called, where they could stop you as you walk in and search you and control you. If you throw a party, 20, 30 police cars could come out there and just get people tickets. That happens in the cities. But when you're on private land and you have acres, now you still government by the federal, right? But the police isn't just driving through your private land. Now let's just imagine if you got, I forgot how many acres a place like Springfield, Illinois is, because they don't measure the cities in acres. But I think it was either like, I don't even want to misquote. But let's just say you got 2,000 acres, right? You could damn near build your own city on 2,000 acres. But guess what? Even if you build a city like and you go build roads, and you build a downtown, you build a theater, you build homes on there for your family, guess what? That's still private land. You could have your own police force on your land. You could create one. But guess what? The police got to get a warrant to come on your land. So it's not as easy. Now, they still could get around and do it, of course, especially with you still being under federal law. But it's not just as easy as you just driving down the street in the city and they just pull you over and you reach for something, reach for your ID, and they shoot you. So that's where our power is. We want to be, now we're not going to be free until the Lord comes back and gets us and takes us back to the promised land. But just in theory, right, if we were supposed to be here forever and we had to get our own way out of this situation, black people coming together and buying land and making your own cities on the land. But it's still private land. That's like a loophole around that being oppressed. But you still going to be oppressed federally. And then what happens? As soon as black people start doing that, boy, them Edomites going, like he said, the white farmers start suing them. You ain't got nothing to do with y'all. This between us and the government. And the banks that's denying us the loans and discriminating against us. Why are y'all suing us? So you start to see how everything is tied in together. It's not just, oh, the average day Edomite that's nice to me. Well, they're tied in because they're the ones that's funding the banks. Because they make up the majority, they say that we're the minorities. So they're tied right in with the banks. And guess what? Your bank is tied right in with the governments. So that's why there's a judgment from the least of the Edomites to the greatest of the Edomites. Not just the ones that's running, the Pope. It's just them, the ones that's running the world and stuff like that. Putin and the president, no. And the rich banker family, no. It's even the regular everyday life Edomite. The whole nation has a judgment coming against them. That's why they can't be saved. None of them. Because they're all tied in together. Right? This is Jeremiah 30, verse 7. Alas, for the day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So we see Jacob's trouble coming in right now. With the oppression, they took all the land from them. Then they could do a shutdown. They could figure out a way to get that money right back. That $2 billion ain't nothing. They could get that right back. They raising taxes, inflation on everything going up. They raising taxes on the lands that they own. They gonna get that money right back, man. And it's gonna get worse and worse. Especially if you put Trump in office. So maybe it's a good thing if he do get in office, because we ain't running from it. We know that we have to go through Jacob's trouble. Verse 8, for it should come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and a stranger should no more serve themselves of him. Remember in Deuteronomy 28, that was a curse. It said the strangers that should get high above us, and we should be low. Roughly paraphrased. They not going to be able to serve themselves no more. They not going to be able to come open nail salons and car lots and convenience stores in our territories and our hoods and take all the money out and send it back to their family. Look, if black people all came together and started buying land, and we had private land that we lived on as a communities, you will see civil war. That they had disguised it as something else, but in reality, you're gonna have Ishmael, Moab, and Esau all standing shoulder to shoulder together against us, because they gonna be like, man, we can't oppress them no more. We can't take all the money from them and send it to our communities. What happened to them? We want to go where they at, so we can keep getting this money off them. If all the black people in America right now was to move down south to Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, Alabama, Tennessee, from Tennessee all the way down to Florida, guess what? You'll see all the Arabs, Edomites, and Asians start to move down there too. Why? Because they gotta follow the money. Shows you who the Israelites is, who the chosen people who is, who the greatest people on the earth. They gotta follow the money. They not all gonna move to California in the West world, and then we all live in the Eastern, Southern world. No, they gonna follow us, because that's who they making their money off, is us. So you gotta wake up to see these things, man.
Promise. So the land, as my daddy and grandfather taught me, the land is everything. The land is food. The land is water. The land is timber to build houses on. Everything comes great from the land, and we want our land. And that's what I've been after for this whole camp.
Remember, this is the same problem we had in Egypt during the time of Moses, man. Same exact thing. They didn't want us to leave. It talks about that in Jeremiah 30, that they're not going to serve themselves of us, and we're going to be free to serve our Lord. They didn't want us to leave Egypt out of captivity to go serve our Lord. They were jealous because we were a greater people than them. So that's why they put us in slavery. And then the benefits of having us in slavery, they didn't want to lose that, them serving themselves of us. So that's why Pharaoh's heart was hard not to let us go. And it's the same thing today. They don't want to let us go. They never going to do what they did for the small hats for us. They never going to give us our own land and sovereignty and give us reparations to build that land. They never going to do that. Because it's okay if Ishmael does it in Saudi Arabia. It's okay if the small head does it in Israel. It's okay if Chinese do it in China. But the number one enemy, the so-called black and brown man, they can't do it. We can't allow that to happen, because they're too powerful and too great. Now you might say, well, what about South America? What about Mexico? If you say that the Mexicans are Israelites, they got a whole land. So why aren't they showing how great they is? If you say that, then you don't know what you're talking about. When you go to Mexico, a lot of those places, Mexico is really owned by the USA. You got puppet leaders that's controlled by the USA, by America. Same thing with Canada, right? So when you go to Mexico, you got a lot of Spaniards that may look Mexican, but they're not Mexican. They're Spaniards. They're from Spain because of the mixing that was done. This is the reason why they speak Spanish. This is the reason why they worship the Pope. So you got a lot of people that's running stuff down there that's in power positions. They may look Mexican, but they're not actually Mexicans. They're actually Edomites. But that's on a deeper level.
Pain and I spoke to you about before.
John, you mentioned your father. You are a fourth generation.
And I want to give a thumbs up to my daddy, the greatest man on every day that pickup truck goes in your face discrimination. And I was spat on with tobacco juice running down my shirt on one particular loan application with the lender, who was a federal employee who was employed by a government, spat on me. I was called the N-word.
What's that? A byword, like in Deuteronomy 28. So he got spat on by a federal worker when he applied for the loan, just because he was applying for some money as a black man and a farmer.
The same official, I had my application torn up and thrown in the trash can in front of me. On average, it took 387 days to process a black farmer's loan request. Less than 30 days to process a white farmer's loan request.
Yeah, because even if he ain't do nothing wrong, you black man, why are you in this business? This is where the power at. Why are you in this business? Imagine a black man trying to open up gas stations around the country and find out where they oil. I think it's oil rigs. You could buy an oil rig And if you got some land with some oil on it, you could start siphoning that oil, and you could sell it to the government and sell it to other companies. But they don't want us to get in those business. They want us to be rappers and entertainers. Y'all are our entertainers. Entertain us. Michael Jackson went before Pharaoh, and the song do you remember the time? He was an entertainer. Michael Jordan, everybody look up to him. He's an entertainer. LeBron James, those are entertainers, man. They allow us to be entertainers and entertain them. But as far as getting real power and wealth, oh no, they don't want it. This same thing that Kanye West been crying about for a decade now. They don't want us to get real power, man. They spin in his face. Man, why are you trying to be a farmer? Why do you want to farm land? They don't want you to do that. Spit in his face and ripped up his application. Said it took over a year for their loan. Imagine waiting a year. You apply for a loan. Imagine waiting a whole year just to hear that you was denied. Now imagine a white farmer, it taking on average just 1 month to get approved. Well, he put the application in, 30 days later, he's approved and his money is being sent on his way. And now imagine for you, it take a whole 12, 13 months. That's crazy, man. Welcome to Babylon.
In that particular county, this person would only see black farmers one day of the week. So we named it Black Wednesday. And we all would be in the hallway trying to apply for loans. And one day we all just looked at our letters from the USDA, and it said 9 a.m. Wednesday. For all of us who's going to see us all at the same time. And if a white farmer came in, Amy, he would bring that farmer into the office and conduct business as though I wasn't even there. And his voice changed, and his pleasantries were happy.
Yeah, because behind the scenes, oh man, we got these black farmers again trying to get some money. We got to save this money for the white farmers. We got these niggas out here again, man. Yeah, just tell them all to come on Wednesday. Just tell them all to come on Wednesday. And when you get there, it happens to me all the time, man. You get there, you trying to handle some business. Whenever they got the power, they don't greet you right away. They don't speak to you right away. You got to sit there in front of their face and wait till they get finished doing what they was doing that's more important than you. And then you got to sit there and say, hey, and then they sit there and look at you stupid. And then when you tell them why you here clearly, hey, I'm here to fill out this application. They sit there and look at you stupid. You know he a racist if you sit in front of his face and you say, hey, I'm here to fill out an application, whatever you doing, right? And he looks up at you and he say, what? He's a racist. Because you heard me clearly. He just wants you to repeat it again. That's a power tactic. That's a power tactic that they do. What? What you said? Oh, yeah, man, I don't know. And then everything you're saying, he's just trying to get you out the way pretty much. And just trying his best not to have to help you. Yeah, I don't know. You got to call this other place. You got to know. And damn well he knows what to do and he can help you there. You know, and that happens to us all the time. But these are things that you can't measure with stats. These are things that will have to be videoed and sent in somewhere. You can't measure these things with stats. You can't measure, like he said, his pleasantries changed up, his whole tone changed up. You can't measure those things. I see it all the time. Man, with that, salvation to you, like Shalom.